Good day, everyone. My name is Miss Bowen. For those who are just joining, or for the first time participants, I'm Miss Bowen once more. For those of the students who are accustomed to me, you know who I am. I'm delighted to have all of you. Today, we're going to be using the chat instead of the audio. So you're going to be responding via chat instead of the audio. I'm just setting up the live on Facebook, Mental Ability, and I'm waiting for the other students to join before I begin. So we are aware that the PEP examination has been pushed back for another month. We're actually not going to be doing the PEP exam this month, but we're going to be doing it next month, which is the 25th of March. We're also going to be looking at how we dissect the format for the performance task examination. So we're looking at the format of how the ability test examination would have been compiled. We're also, so I mentioned performance task, that's what that was an error. Not the performance task, we're looking at the format of the ability test. We're looking at the questions that can come on the ability test. So we are aware that the ability test will have quantitative and, verbal reasoning questions. Now, what does that mean? Can anybody respond in the chat? Can anyone respond in the chat? Sorry. What does quantitative reasoning mean and what does verbal reasoning mean? I'm looking for the responses in the chat. Waiting for the other students to respond. Somebody responded and said it means reasoning. Yes, I'm aware it means reasoning. But what does verbal reasoning mean? So we have non-verbal reasoning. Let me give you some more information. We have non-verbal reasoning and you have verbal reasoning. Very good, Sheikh. Sheikh says that verbal reasoning is thinking with words. Can you elaborate? Sorry, what does it mean when you say that verbal reasoning is thinking with words? We know that the word verbal means words, using words or spoken. What does it quite mean to have verbal reasoning? I'm going to be sharing something to the screen. I'm going to be sharing something to the screen shortly, but I want us to have a conversation about what the verbal reasoning questions would look like. What the verbal reasoning questions would look like and what would the quantitative reasoning look like. So Sheikh gave us some information to say that verbal reasoning is thinking with words. Can anybody add to what Sheikh said? I'm looking for the responses in the chat. So verbal reasoning is reasoning with words. What does it mean to have quantitative reasoning? So again, if you're just joining, my name is Miss Boyne. We're looking at the ability test format. We are going to be looking at some ability tests from my booklet, some ability test questions, sorry, from my booklet here. And as usual, we're going to be looking at some giveaway booklets. We're going to be giving away 5 booklets at the end of the session. After the session, you can head on over to the Facebook page and answer the giveaway booklet question, and the first 5 answers will get one of these booklets. Yes. So can anybody tell me what quantitative reasoning is? And you're allowed to research. I am not expecting you to have all of this information in your head. All right, so I'm seeing some information here in the chat. It says quantitative reasoning is the application. This looks just like something that's coming from Google, but I want it in your own words. So can you simplify this information? Quantitative reasoning is the application of basic mathematics skills such as algebra to the analysis and the interpretation of real-world quantitative information in the context of a discipline or interdisciplinary problem to draw conclusions that are relevant to. That is a lot of information, Kadalee McLean. Can anybody simplify? If you're seeing what Kadalee McLean wrote in the chat, so she gave us some information. Can anybody simplify the information that was given? So I'm going to read once more. It says quantitative reasoning is the application of basic mathematics skills such as algebra. So that's one information that you're applying basic mathematics skills to the analysis and interpretation of real-world quantitative information in the context of a discipline or interdisciplinary problem to draw conclusions that are relevant to. All right, so it's something you use to draw conclusions that are relevant. Fair enough. All right, Ajania says quantitative means relating or measured by the quantity. Yes, like what the word says. So compiling both of the information that we're given from Kadalee and Ajania, we can say that when you're thinking of quantitative reasoning, you're thinking of applying basic mathematics skills. You're also trying to draw some conclusion based on your interpretation of real-world problems. And these real-world problems have to do with quantity. Does that make sense to anybody? So the questions that you're going to be given in the examination is one, similarly to what Sheikh said earlier, you're going to be looking at questions that has to do with with reasoning using words, and similarly to what Kadalee and Ajania referred to, you're going to be looking at questions that have to do with quantity. All right, so that's the basics So that's quantitative reasoning and verbal reasoning in a gist. Does anybody want to add anything more before we start looking at the question? Does anyone want to add anything to the information that was already given, just to clarify our information a bit more? I'm going to be sharing a document that was sent. It's a bulletin that was sent by the Ministry of Education. Not sure if everybody has this bulletin, if anyone has this bulletin, but it speaks about some of the questions that will be on the mental ability test paper. So there has only been 2 admissions of the mental ability test in 2019, and we had one in 2020. I'm going to be sharing to the screen. And we're going to be looking at the format of the mental ability questions. Sorry, the format of the mental ability test. And then we're going to be looking at some questions that are related to verbal and quantitative reasoning. I hope everybody is seeing what is on my screen. I'm going to be zooming in. So this document speaks about the content and the structure of the ability test. So it says that the grade 6 students or students in grade 6 will sit an ability test. This test is not based on the curriculum. So it is not based on the information that you're getting in the class from the teacher. And therefore, the content used to develop this test is based on areas of basic numeracy and reading skills already developed in students from already developed in the students at the grade 4 level or below. So all of the information that is necessary for the ability test, those information would have been information that you would have learned from grade 4 or before grade 4, but surely not you're learning some of the information in grade 6, but not all of the information is pertaining to grade 6. Most of the information that you would have seen on the mental ability test, it's information that you would have already known from previous grades. So when we look at the area of basic numeracy, that's where the quantitative reasoning comes in. And the reading skills has to do with the verbal reasoning questions. So let's look at the structure of the ability test. So the ability test consists of 40 multiple choice questions. 20 of these questions will be on quantitative reasoning, and the remaining 20 questions will be on verbal reasoning. The time that you're given to complete the ability test is 1 hour and 15 minutes. So you're asked to complete 40 questions within the 1 hour and 15-minute period. Now, students, you will need to work very quickly in order for you to complete these questions, simply because you are not going to be allotted any additional time, probably 5 minutes more or 5 minutes more, sorry, but you won't be allotted any more time by the invigilator. So that means that you need to be practicing these types of questions. Some of these questions, especially the quantitative reasoning question, will take a little bit more time than the verbal reasoning questions. It will ask for you to probably do some working out. So you would need to move quickly through those working out in order for you to finish the test within the allotted time. All right. I'm going to be pausing the screen share. And I'm going to be pulling up some of the questions that are based on quantitative reasoning and verbal reasoning. So we're going to be looking at the structure of the mental ability questions. We're not going to be going outside of that structure. By us looking at the mental ability questions, we can clearly see what the ministry will bring. The ministry will not bring anything different than these questions that we're going to be seeing. If you are able to analyze and look, and that's why I'm here to help you today, we're going to be looking at all the different questions that can come on the mental ability test. I had shared some information, some websites that we would have used to prepare for the mental ability test, the Study Ada website and the Sawal website. I'm going to touch back on those websites for a short minute so you can see some of the information that you can use to help you in your preparation, as well as we're going to be looking at some questions from my booklet. All right, without no further ado, we're going to be jumping into the questions. As usual, you're going to be using the chat to respond to the questions. All right, I'm sharing the questions to the screen. So we're going to be reviewing the 2019 past paper. We're not going to be looking at all of the questions in detail. What we're going to be looking at is the format of the examination. Just the format, to see the different questions that are going to be coming on the examination. And I can assure you, if you are paying attention and you're going through the paper, you should not have a problem in the real examination, which is on the 25th of March. So we can look at some of the types of questions. I hope you're seeing my screen. I'm going to be zooming in. We're going to be, give me a second, please. Sorry about that. So for question 1, and we're not going to be looking at the answer as yet, we're just going to be looking at the format. So this question is an analogy question, all right? It says smoke is to fire as cloud is to. So you're going to be seeing a question. These are going to be, and I'm going to be pulling up the 2020 paper now to see, so you can see, sorry, the similarities. I want you to see the similarities between both papers. So this is the 2020 ability test paper. This is the official paper that the students did in 2019 and 2020. I'm going to be toggling back between both of the papers. So that's the 2019 paper. And this is the 2020 paper. Bear with me while my screen loads, while the paper, sorry, on my screen loads. So we're zooming in at both questions. If you realize that the first question is an analogy question, I want you to pay close attention, students. The first question is an analogy question, where they're comparing, they're giving you one situation or one item and comparing it to another. So smoke is compared to fire, and they're asking you, so if smoke is compared to fire, and the same way smoke is related to fire, that is the same way that cloud is related to another thing, right? And I'm going back to the 2020 paper, and we're seeing there that the first question also, students are to school. This is also another analogy question, and soldiers are related to another thing, the same way that students are related to schools. I don't want the answers, student. Somebody sent something in the chat. Let me look at it. I don't want the answers. We're not looking at the answer as yet. We're looking at the format. I want you to understand that the 2021 paper is going to be similar to this paper. It is going to start with an analogy question. I'm going to also pull up the study at our website. This is the website that I would have shared with you before. I'm going to be sharing it once more to the chat. And I want you, for students who are able to go on the website without leaving the classroom, please to do so. I'm going to be sharing that information in the chat now, the study at our website. And this is one of the resources that I would have shared from week 1. There's the website in the chat. This is the website I would have shared from week 1, and I would have told you that this is one of the websites you can use to get notes and questions on the mental ability test. I'm sharing now. I'm going to the study at our website, and you're seeing these are all the questions. These are all the topics, the mental ability topics that can come on the examination. No, students, the ministry cannot send a question that is not from one of these categories. The ability test or mental ability test has always been around. Some of you, your parents would have done the common entrance examination, and back then they were doing ability test, the mental ability test. The mental ability test is also done other places around the world. So the ministry is not creating anything new. They're creating different questions, but these questions have to come from one of these categories. And the category that we're looking at is the ability test. The analogy. The category that we're looking for the ability test is analogy. So I'm scrolling all the way down so you can see how to access the information from the study at our website. Where I'm at right now, I'm on the question bank for grade 6 mental ability. That's the tab that I'm on. I'm going to show you how you get to that tab, and you're going to go all the way down to the bottom. I hope that students are on this website, for those who can be on the website without exiting the class. And you're seeing 6th here. And the 2 things that you're concerned with is question bank and notes. What I'm on right now is question bank. I'm not going to look at the questions as yet. I'm going to be looking at the notes before. And you would have seen that, and I would have advised you that it's best for you to look at the notes before you look at the questions. You can look at the questions, but it's better for you to look at the notes, understand what it's about, and then you can look at the questions. May I repeat that if you go through all of these notes banks, the ministry cannot send a question on the examination that you're not going to be able to answer, because the questions have to come from one of these categories. It is going to be either on series completion, numbers, alphanumeric, number ranking, time sequence, alphabetic test. It has to be on one of these categories. We're going to jump back to the paper shortly so I can continue to show you the different questions that will come on the examination. But let's go here and see some information on analogy. So this is the notes on analogy. So an analogy, for some of you who know what analogy is, those are of you who are wondering what analogy is, let me zoom in. So analogy speaks or refers to similarity, but in the terms of reasoning, it means logical similarity between two or more things. This similarity can be based on properties, kinds, traits, or shapes. So let's look at the relationship. And even though you're seeing the colon here, similarly to ratio, this colon means to. So student to school as patient, is to hospital. So the explanation of this analogy is that a student goes to the school in the same way the patient goes to the hospital. I'm going to be pausing the screen share on this and showing you that this is a similar question to what the ministry brought on the 2020 paper last year. It says students are to school as soldiers are to. So the student goes to the school similarly to how the soldiers go to the army, or the students are a part of the school similarly to how the soldiers are part of the army, right? I'm jumping to the 2019 paper to show you what is happening. So this is also an analogy question that shows the similarity of how smoke relates to fire in the same way that cloud is related to rain, because there's an old saying that says, you cannot see smoke without fire. Similarly, if you're seeing rain, it's because of these clouds. The rain comes from the clouds, similarly to how the smoke comes from the fire, right? So for the first question that the ministry will bring on the 2021 ability test paper, it has to do with analogy. I can almost tell you that, or I can almost do a bet. I don't like to bet though, but I can tell you that definitely the first question on the ability test will be on analogy. Now, I'm going to go back to the Study Other website. If you go to the website and read the notes on analogy, and these are all the notes on analogy, it speaks about the different types of analogy. So this analogy, this is just a general example, but it talks about the types of problems that you can see in an analogy question. So you can have a problem that is based on a synonymous relationship where these two things are going to be the same. So right is the same as correct. Similarly, fat is the same as bulky, right? Brave is the same as bold. Similarly, wrong is the same as incorrect, right? And then you see some sample questions here. I'm going to be posing one of these questions now to the chat. But let's go back to the information here about the synonymous relationship. So in a problem based on synonymous relationship, words are given in one pair and have the same meaning and the same relationship as the other pair of words. So right and correct is related. So right is the same as correct, but it's the same way that fat is related to bulky because fat is synonymous to bulky. Sorry. So there's another example that says brave is to bold. Similarly, wrong is to incorrect. So let's look at this question here. It says select the pair which is related in the same way as the pair of words given in the question. So we can look for the answers in the chat now. I hope you're seeing what is on my screen. So tough is to hard as which one of these two, which pair, is it A, B, C, or D, or none of these, which is related the same way that tough is related to hard? I'm jumping into the chat. I'm seeing the answers coming in. So tough is related to hard. Let's look at that relationship. How is tough related to hard? Tough is the same thing or synonymous to hard, right? Which pair is synonymous? Is it rich and wealthy, rich to poor, tall to short, or true to false? Or is it none of those? I'm looking for some more answers coming in the chat. And I repeat once more, the first question for the 2021 ability test is going to be an analogy. Please go to the Study Other website. Please use other resources so you can learn about analogy and the different types of questions that will come on analogy, because the first question that you're going to be seeing on the 2020 PEP mental ability question is going to be on analogy. So I'm seeing the information in the chat and it says rich to wealthy. Yes, that is the correct answer. So because tough is a synonym for hard, that's what Kedali says. Similarly, you will have rich being synonymous to wealthy. Very good, students. Let's look at another question. It says, so yes, the answer is A. Let's look at the explanation. Tough and hard are synonymous words. In the same manner, rich and wealthy are synonymous words. So the rest of the options are not correct because they're not synonymous. They are opposite. Rich is opposite to poor, tall is opposite to short, and true is opposite to false. Let's look at another question. It is about the same synonymous relationship. Start is related to begin in the same way as joy is related to. Is joy related to right? Is joy related to false? Is joy related to true, or is joy related to delight? I'm looking for the answers coming in the chat. I'm seeing some answers so far. I'm waiting for the other students to respond. I'm seeing all of the correct answers. Yes, so joy is related to delight. When you are delighted, you feel joyous. Sorry. Let's look at some of the other different types of analogy questions, and I won't be able to look through all of these questions. I'm sharing once more the Study Other website to the chat. Please do not ignore the usefulness of this website. I found it back then in 2018, I think thereabout, and I have used this to prepare the students in my private sessions. And I know it will also be useful to you to prepare for the mental ability test. So you have problems based on opposite relationships, such as poor to rich. So rich is opposite to poor. Similarly, weak is opposite to strong. Come is opposite to go. Near is opposite to far. Let's look at one of these questions that is based on opposite relationship. And these are all analogy questions. And I repeat, the first question from the 2021 paper is going to be on analogy. We have seen the proof. Both questions from the 2019 paper and the 2020 paper began with analogy questions. And I know that the ministry is going to be sticking to the same format. So wet is related to dry in the same way as tough is related to, see the answers coming in the chat. Someone said A. Kedali says hers is not working. I'm going to be rectifying that problem. You can message me in the direct chat. I can assist afterwards, or I can share my email address and my number, and you can message me after the class and I can see how best I can assist you. Let me see the answers. Tough is not too hard, Raheem. We're looking at opposite relationship because wet is opposite to dry. Therefore, tough is related to easy. Tough is the opposite of easy. Tough is synonymous to hard, but we're not looking at synonymous relationship. Tough is not necessarily related to short, or is it related to long? So the answer we're looking at there is easy. Yes, soft could be an option, but it's not there as the answers that we're giving, all right? So we have numerous different, numerous and different are the same. So I'm being repetitive. But we have numerous questions here on analogy questions. We have the cause and effect relationship, what happened as a result of something else being happened. And you have various examples here, and you have questions there, and I'm going to show you how you get to the question bank. So we can scroll down all the way to the bottom of any page on the Study Other website, and then you can click on 6th. That's what you're concerned with. You're in 6th grade, and you can click question bank. Let's look at the question bank. So once you click question bank, you will see the different question banks. You're concerned with the mental ability, and if you realize there's 66 question banks for the mental ability test, that's a lot of questions, because each of these question bank has 50 questions. 66 times 50, that's a lot of questions. And for the question bank, we're looking at analogy. Similarly to how we would have looked in the North Bank for analogy, we're looking for the analogy questions. We're seeing something that says analogy and classification. Let me go back just to see if there's something that's only related to analogy. Yes, there is. So once you're finished with the notes, you can jump there to the question bank and start practicing all of the things you learned there in the notes. And we're seeing 3 different question banks here. So there's 150 questions just on analogy, so you can practice. We're going to click practice now, and then we're going to see some of the questions. And as I would have told you before, you don't have to wait on anybody to give you the correct answer. If you click here, that's the incorrect answer. Click here, still incorrect. Click here, incorrect. And then we can see that this should be the correct answer. If you're not quite understanding why that is the correct answer, you can click view solutions. Let me share my screen. Once you click view solutions, you should be able to see how they got to the answer. So this is an explanation. I suggest that you try working it out first before clicking on these responses, and also before clicking on view solution. All right, let's jump back to the 2019 and 2020 ability test past paper. So we're looking at number 2. Number 2 is also an analogy question. Number 3 is also an analogy question. Let's look if the same thing is there for the 2020 paper. For the 2020 paper, the first question is an analogy, like what we would have said before. The second question is an analogy. So I can safely say that for the 2021 paper, the first and the second question will be an analogy. Let's look at the different type of questions that are coming in down. So this is the question, this is an odd one out question. Which group does not belong, which does not belong in the group? Let's look at the 2019 paper. So number 3 was an analogy. So we have clearly said that the questions from number 1 to 2 will be an analogy. Number 3 might be an analogy. Number 4 is still also an analogy question. You really should try to figure out what types of problems can come on analogy, and the study at our website will help with that. And you should be able or be well on your way to getting the first 3 or 4 questions correct from the 2021 paper, simply because you know analogy and the different types of questions that can come on analogy. Sorry. For number 5 here, it's speaking about the necessary component. Let's look. So for the first 3 to 4 questions, that's going to be an analogy. But the second, sorry, the 5th and 6th question should be a necessary component or odd one out. Let's look back at the 2020 paper and see what it looks like. So number 3 is the odd one out, which does not belong in the group. So you're going to be getting 4 different things or 4 things. And then 1 is not going to be related to the others. So in this case, Barbados, St. Kitts, and St. Lucia are Caribbean islands, and England does not belong in this group because it's not in the Caribbean. Let's look at number 4. All right, so we have something here. So number 4 is also a necessary component. So you might have a question coming in there on the odd one out. I think after you go to number 7 here for the 2019 paper, see, we're seeing the odd one out question coming back. So we did not see the odd one out earlier in the 2019 paper, but it did come back at number 7 in the 2019 paper. It came earlier on the 2020 paper. Mind you, I'm toggling back and forth between both papers. So we saw that the odd one out came earlier in the 2020 paper. It still came in the 2019 paper, but it came a little bit later. So students, we have something here. Please look at what we're doing here. This is vital information to help you to be successful in your ability test examination. So we know that analogy will come on the paper. We also know now that the odd one out will come on the paper. I'm going to be showing you that on the Study Other website because it's there on the Study Other website as well. All of these questions, and now we can safely say that the ministry cannot bring something that's not there on the Study Other website. If you go through that website and you're on that website assiduously looking at the notes and practicing the questions, you should not have a problem in the examination because the ministry can only pull a question from one of these categories. Now, if you know the background information, which is the notes on how these questions are compiled, you will not have a problem in the examination. When you see the examination paper, you should be smiling because everything on that paper, you will know how to solve once you follow this format. So the first thing that you should know, if you have a pen or a pencil and a paper, if you have your notebook nearby, if you're using the computer and you can pull up the Word, the Microsoft Word application and type these things down. I want you to be typing down or writing down the different topics that will come on the examination. So 1, analogy. Whether you're using the Study Other website or you're using your language art textbook, we have the first aid in English also that helps with analogy. There are various resources online as well that speaks to analogy. You can learn about analogy, the different types of questions. In our other session, we will look in depth at all of these topics, and we will definitely be prepared for the 2021 examination. We have no excuse. You're seeing the paper being dissected, you're seeing the format, and I'm telling you, the ministry is not going to be creating something that's different. It is going to be the same format for the 2021 paper, all right? So analogy, odd one out. There are going to be 4 things, and 3 of them are going to be related, and 1 is not going to belong in that group. That's what it means, the odd one out. In this case, the microwave, the refrigerator, the blender are all kitchen appliances. The television is not a kitchen appliance. That is the odd one out. Sorry. There's also another odd one out question coming in on the 2019 paper. So we can safely say odd one out is a category that will come on the paper. All right. Let's scroll back up. There's also going to be the necessary component. You're going to be given a word, and that word is going to be in bold. And you're going to have necessary components of that word in bold. So all of these things are from tomato is sometimes in sandwich, lettuce is sometimes in sandwiches, meat is sometimes in sandwiches, but which one is the necessary component? Which one that has to be in the sandwich? It has to, for it to be called a sandwich, which one does it need? It's the bread. So you can have a sandwich without tomato, without lettuce, and you can have a vegan sandwich, but most sandwiches have a bread or a starch that is considered to be something like a bread. So that's the necessary component. We're seeing also with the house here, that's a necessary component. Let's go back to the 2020 paper. We're seeing the odd one out question, and we're also seeing the same necessary component question. We're seeing the necessary component of a car and of a book. It is going to come on the examination. So let's look at the 3 things: analogy, odd one out, necessary component, okay? And we're seeing for number 6 and 7 on the 2020 past paper, this is the odd one out question again. So we have the odd one out coming in 2 different formats. We can see where we're seeing 4 things or 4 items, and 1 is an odd one, which it doesn't belong in that group. But we're also seeing a different thing here. They're doing a relationship where doctor is related to patient, coach is related to player, student is related to teacher, but the odd one out is brother and sister. The patient goes to the doctor, the player goes to the coach for help, the student goes to the teacher for help, but brother and sister are not in the same relationship. So that's the odd one out. So we're seeing odd one out, analogy, and necessary component. Let's look at the other parts of the paper. We're seeing also, this is similar to the odd one out. It says, which of the following is not like the other words, but it's a little bit different where you have a little table there and you're giving 4 words in that table, and then you're provided with some words for the answer. And all of these other words, 3 of these words relates to the 4 words in the table, but 1 does not relate, right? So we can call that a synonymous relationship, all right? Let's look at the 2019 past paper and see if there's a similar question to this one. This is the same odd one out question. Are you seeing there's so many odd one out questions. From the 2019 paper, we had the odd one out coming from number 5. Sorry, the necessary component is number 5. But we see the odd one out coming in from number 7, 8, and 9. There's a passage for number 10. For the 2020 paper, because I'm accustomed to the paper, I can already tell you that there's a passage 2 for the 2020 paper, but it might come farther down in the paper. So the format of the examinations are similar. However, you have the questions being mixed up. So you have some of them coming earlier than some, and some of them coming later than some. And some questions might come totally different, but it's just for you to recognize the different format of the examination to see what the 2021 paper could be like. All right. So we're seeing, I think this number 9 question is something that we did not see on the 2019 paper. Sorry, that's something new, where you're given a series of letters, and based on a particular pattern, you have to identify what pattern is going on. So this is a series question. This is a series question. So you have a series, which is, sorry, and this is also on the study on our website. There is a series where you're having a logical sequence or a logical formation of things. So it starts with AZ, then you have C, W, ET, and GQ. And if you can see the relationship or the pattern that is taking place from AZ to CW to ET and to GQ, you should be able to see what will come next. All right. We're going to be looking at this question a bit closer later, but I'm just showing you all the different types of questions that could come on the examination. Let's scroll down a little bit more. This is also another sequence question. So this is a series. Series and sequence are a bit similar. I'm going to tell you the differences shortly. So this is a sequence question. So it tells you what comes first. The seed comes first, the plant comes next. After you plant the seed, the plant comes from that seed. And then after the plant comes the blossom. What comes next after the blossom? Not apple, because it cannot, suppose it's not an apple seed. The branches would not come after the blossom. After the blossom withers, then fruit appears. So the thing that comes next in the sequence is fruit. Let me see if there's something like this on the 2019 paper. Let me scroll past this. Sorry, passage. And see if there's something there. Oh, let's look at what's going on here. So this is another sequence question, which is asking, so there are steps involved in baking a cake, and they want you to identify, see there, logical sequence. So we see sequential questions coming on both papers. I think it's safe to say that for the 2021 paper, we will be seeing questions on sequence. Students, pay close attention. So again, we'll have questions on analogy, we'll have questions on odd one out, we'll have questions on necessary component, and now we're seeing that we might have questions on series, not might, but we will have questions on series and also sequences. You can write that down. Let's scroll on. Oh, look at what is going on. Isn't this almost, it is the same question. This is not the 2020 past paper, guys. This is the 2019 past paper. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is I hope everyone has both past papers. If you don't have both past papers, please reach out to me in the chat. I'm going to be sending my number and my email. I can send you both of the information, both of the documents, all right? Both of the past papers. I have in my possession both of the past papers, and I will send them to you because I want you to be prepared. All right, so I'm sending my number. It's the first thing that I'm doing. And you can reach out to me via WhatsApp. If you have WhatsApp, if you have your parents' WhatsApp, you can reach out to me. All right, Sheikh, I'm going to put a note down with where that is concerned that you do not have the past papers, and I'm going to send them to your mother. So that's my number. Please reach out to me. I'm also going to be sharing my email address. And let me tell you what's going on, students. Every student in this class, especially if you've attended all of the series that you did, all of the series that I did before, you have to pass the examination. No child should be left behind. COVID or no COVID, everybody is going to be passing, and everybody, especially for this mental ability test, and no child will be left behind. Everybody will get top marks in the mental ability test. Tell it to your friend and tell it to your other friend, and let them tell it to their friend. We're sharing the information. Nobody is going to be left behind. I'm not going to pass and my friend fail. Everybody is going to be passing. Everybody is going to be going to their first choice school. How does that sound? Sounds good, right? Yes. We need to be a group working together to get required results. We want our peers to also be successful. I'm successful, you should be successful too as well. And this is my motto: knowledge is done, no justice. Right? Our knowledge is not rendered useful when you keep it to yourself. How can, if you keep your knowledge to yourself, right? How is that beneficial to you? Yes, it might seem that, yes, you are in the know, but imagine if everybody before you thought that way, then we would have no information, because I would have just kept my information and died with it. No, we have to share, and everybody has to be up on the same boat and going on to good places just like me. Everybody has to be successful. I think that is the whole idea of me doing these sessions, just to make sure, everybody is on the same page and everybody is getting on. All right, let's jump back to the paper. And I'm going to be showing you something. This is the same questions, and even though we are accustomed to the GSAT examination where we had numerous past papers and we could look at the questions and say that this question is going to be repeating, I didn't even realize that these questions, the ministry is already repeating questions. Look at that. Let me jump back. That's the 2019 paper with the same question that the 2020 paper has. So who thinks that some of the questions are going to be repeated on the 2021 paper? This is the same question. The same seed, plant, blossom question is on both papers. Yes. So we already have repeated questions already. And we're looking at another logical sequence question there coming in at number 14. Students, the four things so far that we're agreeing that has to come on the 2021 paper are analogy, odd one out, necessary component, and sequence. Logical sequence or general sequences will be coming on the examination. All right. Let me scroll down. This is the 2019 paper and this question looks familiar too as well. Let me see what is taking place if this is a question that really came. All right, I'm not seeing where this question came twice. The same paper. But it's also a logical sequence. Students, for number 11, that's also a sequence question. Number 12 is also a sequence question. So can we safely say that sequence will come on the 2021 paper? Yes, it will. This is a sequence question as well. Number 12 is a sequence question. All right, No, I can also say that the question based on coding, the artificial language will come on the examination. This is the 2019 paper. It's not here in the same way. It's not in the same format, the same questions like from 1 to 12, but it will come later on in the paper. I can safely say that we're going to have a question on, let me scroll all the way down, artificial language. Do you see that the passage is coming back? So I'm going to show you what took place on the 2019 paper. The passages are coming back. You are going to get a passage and you're going to get 2 questions or 3 questions on that passage. So you're going to get a passage to read. Oh, this is what I was talking about, guys. The artificial language question. This is a coding question that speaks about artificial language. So it's there at number 19 on the 2020 paper. I hope everyone is following. And it's also there on the 2020 paper. So this is the 2019 paper, jumping back to the 2020 paper. So it's at number 15 for the 2019 paper. It's not at number 15 for the 2020 paper, but it's still in the teens, number 19. So we can safely say that we're going to have a question that speaks about coding, but more specifically, coding in an artificial language. Students, do you see what is taking place? This is the format of the 2 papers, the 2 past papers that were given before, and it is going to be the same format for the 2021 paper. Analogy, odd one out, necessary component, sequence, and artificial language via coding and decoding. All right, let's go back to the passage here. So we're going to have a question on passages. This is the 2020 paper on a passage about Devon House, and there's 3 questions on that passage. Let me scroll up. Let me see what number that was. That was number 16. Let's see what number the passage is on the 2019 paper. We won't be able to go through all of the paper today, but I know you have been equipped with enough information. Yes, we didn't do the question and answer like we would have done for the entire session. And I know some students were eager to send in those questions and answer. Sorry, to send in those answers to those questions. However, I think this what we're doing here is even more vital than just providing answers. You are now equipped with information that will help you to pass your examination, or not just pass, to get 100% in your examination, because now you know the format of the examination, so you know how the 2021 paper will come. All right. So there's a passage here, but the passage is not later down in the teens. It is just entering, it's number 10. So you're getting a passage here. This one does not have a title though, so it might come with a title or it might not come with a title. Let me see how much questions are there based on this passage. 1, 2. So this is not 3 questions this time, but there are 2 questions on the passage. So we can safely say that there's going to be a passage that you need to read in the mental ability paper, and you might get 2 to 3 questions on this passage. All right. So let's go over the things that will come on the 2021 paper. And Miss Bowen is never normally wrong. If I'm wrong, we're going to be meeting here after the examination, and you have to settle that with me. Yes, I'm going to meet here with you after the paper on the 26th of, let me see what date that is. Sorry, let me see what day that is, not date. We know that is the 26th already. So the The 26th of March will be on a Friday for my Friday class, yes. And even though we're going to be moving into the performance task series, we're going to have a hash out on the paper, and you're going to let me know if these are the same questions that you saw. Well, I will have the paper in my hand and I will see the paper. So you can come back to me and say, Miss Bowen, you were right or you were wrong. This did not come or this came. And we'll talk about that on the 26th. But let's see one more type of questions that will be coming on the examination. So quickly, analogy. Add one out. Necessary component. Sequence. That's 5. Analogy, add one out. Necessary component, sequence. No, that's 4. Passages. You're going to get a passage with 2 to 3 questions on that passage. You can thank me later. Students, I'm providing you with information that is going to help you. You will be smiling on the 25th. Because before you did not know what the questions will be like, you did not know what questions will come on the examination. Miss Bowen is here telling you that you're going to have analogy, add one out, necessary component, sequence or series, and you're going to have a passage. Forgot one thing, artificial language. You're going to have a coding and decoding question on artificial language. Next week, students, we're going to be dissecting and going through the remainder of the paper, and then we'll see for sure what questions will come on the paper. I'm telling you, I know I'm not wrong. I have studied these papers. When I'm dreaming, I'm verbal reasoning. I'm quantitative reasoning. I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming. I'm doing all of these things, PEP, mental ability right now. I know that after the mental ability test, I'm going to be dreaming and sleeping about performance task. And after the performance task, I'm going to be dreaming and sleeping about the curriculum-based test. I've written my own ability test booklet. I have 3 of these booklets out on the market now. And as we said, as soon as we finish at 6:30, 5 more minutes. Yes, as soon as we finish at 6:30, you can jump on over to the Facebook page. I'm going to be providing a question and you have the opportunity to win one of these booklets. So without no further ado, I'm going to be jumping to one of the questions from these booklets. All right, I'm going to be sharing to the screen and we're going to be looking at one of those questions. Let me see if I can provide you with any more information. Let's save it until until next week. Let's save it until next week. So next week, we're going to be going through the format again for the 2021 ability test. We're going to be going through the 2019 and 2020 past paper, similarly to what we did this week, and we're going to dissect it, and we're going to see the format, and we're going to look at all the different questions that will, not can, that will come on the 2021 ability test examination. Stick with me. I will help you to get through this examination without a hassle. If you're having any challenges, reach out to me via the number that I provided or via email, and I will offer any support that I can offer. Read the websites, read additional information. If you're struggling with anything, even at school, I will help you. Again, no child will be left behind. All of us are going to be passing. All of you students will be passing, not just passing, will become successful in your examination and be getting in the top 95 percentile. Tell your friend and let your friend tell their friend that we're all going to be successful in the examination simply because we're leaving nobody behind. All right, 3 minutes to go. Let me jump to my booklet. This is my booklet. This is my booklet. Let me bring it up on the screen. So I have been working on another booklet, and what I do, I look at these past papers and I see the types of questions that will come, and I create a mimic. I create a mimic of these booklets. I create a mimic of the past papers. So I'm looking at the question and I'm creating questions, sorry, very similarly to these questions. I'm going to open both of my booklets. I'm going to be opening the one that I'm working on, and this one was the first booklet that I worked on in 2019 or? Yes, it was 2019. So I did this booklet in 2019. And then after the test came out and I saw the format, I knew what the examination would look like. And from then I started to create similar booklets to what the past paper would have looked like. Let me stop my screen share. As I said, and I don't mean to knock on any teacher whatsoever. Let me just publicly say that. But your teacher at school probably has so much things doing. She has 20 students to deal with, or however much students she has to deal with in her class. So she's probably not able to go through all of these things in detail. I'm concerned with particularly preparing students for their examination. I'm a private tutor extraordinaire, and I work specifically with looking at past papers and creating my own examination papers, right? So I know this like the back of my hand. I know what I'm talking about, right? When you are at the stage where you're creating questions, that's when you know that you're there, all right? And I say this to say that even the teacher at school might not be able to go through these past papers similarly to how I'm going through these papers. So you, in your general classroom, you'll be getting questions, but you might not see what the format is like, and you might be preparing wildly. I don't want you to prepare wildly. I want you to prepare specifically and be able to see the same format. And I kid you not, students, it is going to be the same thing for the 2021 paper, right? One more time, let me just go over the questions that will come on the examination, or the topics that will come on the examination. Before I jump to my paper, we're only going to do, one question from my paper. I provide another question from my booklet to the Facebook page, and you can head on over to the Facebook page or the Instagram page and answer the question and win any one of the booklets. So for the 2021 ability test paper, you will have analogy. I hope you're writing this down. Odd one out questions, necessary component, artificial language via coding and decoding. You're going to have a passage with 2 or 3 questions on that passage, and you're going to have sequence or series. Next week, we're going to be looking at the other different topics that will come on the paper. Let me start sharing the question from my booklet now. So this is the booklet that I'm currently working on. If you realize how similar it is to the 2019 and 2020 past paper. Look at my paper now, students. This is my booklet that I have created. It's my brand there, Pep Practice. And look, the first question that I have come in there, that's an analogy question. All right, let me see who, and students are waiting for this to run to the chat. So that's an analogy question. Nurses are to hospital as teachers are to, let me look in the chat now. I'm seeing the answers already. School, yes, shake. There with the first answer. Michaela Binns is also there with school. Richard Forsyth and Rushard Robinson is also correct with school. Very good, students, yes. So we know now that the first question is going to be an analogy, all right? I'm sharing the study at our website once more, student. Do not neglect this website. I was not able to go on the Sawal website. The Sawal website has the question, but it does not have the notes. You don't have to do both websites. If you are aggressive enough, you can do both websites, but the study at our website alone is enough to help you simply because it has notes. Again, teacher at school might not know the notes about what makes up the ability test question. Some of the teachers at school don't know this website. You're given information that's privileged. If you look at all the notes here and look at the topics and then do the questions related to this topic, you should not have a problem in the examination. All right? So we're a little over the marker of where we would have ended, but I know that I have equipped you with valuable information that will help you in your examination. I'm going to be sharing my number once more and my email. Please reach out to me. I'm seeing where some of the students said that they did not have the past paper shake, and I think Ruth, let me see, but once more in the chat. All right, so the cost of the booklet is $1,000. However, you can get the booklet for free once you go to the Facebook page and answer the question that I'm going to be posting now. All right, so let me see the students who said that they didn't have the past paper. Please reach out to me, read the past paper, remind me. I have so much things doing, and I will get the past papers to you, and you should be able to prepare for your examination using those past papers. Stick with me. I will be walking with you, holding your hand throughout the entire process of all your PEP examinations, the mental ability, the performance task, and the curriculum-based test. All right? And if you have any questions at all, please reach out to me via the information that I would have sent to you, okay? I'm sending the name for the Facebook page. So it's at Pep Practice. That is it. Pep Practice. Very easy. Just remember that you're practicing for PEP, so it's Pep Practice. All right. Even for the email, it's practicepep@gmail.com. All right. This is the end of our session today, guys. I am grateful for the students who stayed with me up until the end. I know that you will use the information that you're given. I also urge you to share your information that you learned with your fellow colleagues and help them to be on the same page that all of us are on. All right. If you don't have Facebook, speak to your parents. They can also log in and you can respond via their Facebook page. All right. So it doesn't have to be your Facebook. All right. All right, guys. Thank you once more for joining me today. I'll see you next week. Have a very productive week. Use the resources that you're provided. I'm going to be dropping the SAWAL website here in the chat for students who are eager and also aggressive enough to complete all the questions on the Study Other website and still want more resource. So that's the SAWAL website. They're coming in, and that's mental ability. For the SAWAL website, it puts the different questions into categories. So you will see on the SAWAL website, it says verbal reasoning. So you can click in that on that tab, and you always see the question. You will see the question, sorry, on verbal reasoning. You can also click on the quantitative reasoning tab, and then you can see all the questions that can come on quantitative reasoning and the topic. I think that's the difference with the SAWAL and the Study Other website. It doesn't tell you, for the Study Other website, it doesn't tell you what category are these questions being pulled from, but for the SAWAL website, it does that. But once you're toggling there between both websites, you will see the difference, or see the similarities as well. So you can see the different questions that will be coming on the quantitative and verbal reasoning. For everything else on the SAWAL website, you're not concerned with, because no other question will come on the examination other than verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning. All right. So until next week, have a productive and prosperous weekend, and enjoy yourself and practice and share your information with all the other students who are doing the PEP examination that you know. Until next time, this is Ms. Bowen saying bye and enjoy the rest of your week. And please practice. Be safe with the coronavirus going out now. If you don't have to go out, do not go out. Stay in your home and practice. You can still message and liaise with other students via online platforms, but try to minimize the distance between the other students, because you don't want to be in a critical situation that will endanger you or in some way prevent you from doing your examination. All right. So I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, Miss.
Bye.
Remember, before I leave, head on over to our Facebook page and post in the question now.